So let's proceed with the cost forecasting. And we have to start with number, is that number 5? Number 5, which is learning curve. We did the industrial engineering. Number 2 was the account analysis. Number 3 was the high-row method. Number 4 was regression analysis. And then number 5, learning curve. Learning curve. Let me see that. This is a forecasting technique. This is a forecasting technique. This is a forecasting technique. The forecasting technique used to forecast costs, used to forecast costs, used to forecast costs in situations where the average completion time, in situations where the average completion time reduces systematically. The average completion time reduces systematically as more units are produced, as more units are produced. Full stop. Where learning is prolonged, where the learning is prolonged, comma, it becomes an experience. When you do something over and over, it becomes an experience. Full stop. Can I say that? Experience is never forgotten. Experience is never forgotten. But sometime, experience might not be achieved. Experience might not be achieved due to the following circumstances. Due to the following circumstances. Yeah, which are some of these circumstances that can hinder the gain of experience? Number one, high mobility of labor, especially when young. High mobility of labor, especially when young. Number two, short-term nature of plans. Another one, presence of demotivators. There is something that is discouraging you. Presence of demotivators. Another one, wrong breaks. Yeah, so sometimes you might learn something, but whenever you take a wrong break, you forgot. For example, when you are taking CPA, you decide to take a 2-year break. Assume you get a refer on a given unit to see that I'm not doing that CPA again. Then you decide to come back after 2 years. High chances, even the small concept that you had mastered, high chances after 2 years, do you think you'll be remembering? No, when you take wrong breaks, experience might never be achieved. So now let's look at assumption of learning curve. Assumptions of learning curve. What does it assume? Number one, it assumes that job is manual and repetitive. Number two, labor involved Yeah, we are saying that number two, that labor involved is indirect. Number three, workers are motivated. Workers are motivated. Workers are motivated. Workers are motivated. Another one. There are no bricks. 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 Yeah, so those are some of the assumptions, of which is that assumption in most cases, they are limitation. Assumption, they are limitation. So now let's look at application of learning curve. Applications of learning curve. Application of learning curve. Where do we apply the learning curve? Application of learning curve. Number one, in work scheduling, in work scheduling. Number two, in setting labor standards, in setting labor standard. Another one, pricing decision. Another one, cost analysis. Project appraisals. Another one, performance measurement. Another one, inventory controls. Yeah, those are some of the application of learning curve. So now let's look at causes of learning curve stoppage. Causes of learning curve stoppage. What can make the learning curve stop? Yeah, causes of learning curve stoppage. Number one, mental fatigue. Number two, lack of resources. Number two is due to lack of resources. Another one, presence of demotivators. Another one, climatic conditions, i.e. weather change, Another one, technological changes, Good. Another paragraph, we have to see that. Learning curve can be expressed. Using the following two formats. Learning curve can be expressed using the following two formats. A is the total approach. Where y is equals to ax, b plus 1. Then b, we have the average approach. Where y bar is equals to ax raised power b, where followed by y bar a x b. So y is the total time, y bar is the average time, a is the time to make the first unit. X is the number of units. B is what we call the running index. And how do we get the running index? Which is log R over log 2, where R is the running rate. Is the running rate. Yeah. So that's how we evaluate the running cap. Now, when you talk about the running cap, now listen up here. What do we mean by the running cap? Now, running cap, this is what it means. This is what it means. We're saying that is a forecasting strategy which assumes that as more units are produced, the time reduces. For example, let me give you a scenario. Now, in financial, for example, if I give you a question in financial reporting, to prepare a financial statement of a given company until it balances. So high chances for you to do that question to balance, it can even take you 6 hours. You do some correction. Then once you are done, I tell you to repeat the same question. Now, for the second time, how long do you think will you take? If the first time to do the question to balance, it took you 6 hours. You did it from the morning to the afternoon. So if I tell you to repeat the same question, the same question for the second time, how long do you think you did take? Same. You cannot take the same. Eh? It cannot take 15 minutes. Yeah, so it can even take you even 40 minutes, right? What if now I tell you that you do the same question, which has balanced, the third time, you do it now on a separate sheet. How long will it take? It can even take 20 minutes. Now, that's what we call the running curve. So you're assuming that as you produce more units, sometimes to make a unit, maybe to make the first unit, you have to struggle. But once you're done to do the second unit, you have run something from the first unit, right? So it takes shorter time. That's what we call the running curve. And this is how it's evaluated. So I want us to do an illustration. Assume assume A is equals to 40 hours. R is 90%. R is 90%. Only that. So now I want you to listen here. We are just assuming. So we have said that assume A is 40 hours. Now we have said that. Can you go back to what you have written? We have said that what is A? A is a time taken to make the first unit. For example, the first time you did that question to balance, it took you 6 hours. Now that will be your A, the time taken to make the first unit. Then assume that R is the running rate. Based on how I've assessed you, you are running at the rate of 90%. So therefore, to get B, B is the running index, of which is that it's log R over log 2. So give me that. So it would be log R is 90, so it's 0.9 over log 2. Give me into 3 decimal places. Give me into 3 decimal places. Yeah, you get negative 0.152. Then when using the total approach, that's when we factor in B plus 1. So it will be negative 0.152, add 1. That's we use it when we're using the total approach. 0.848. So now I want us to evaluate something so that you understand. And so here I want us, we have the number of units. Then we have the total approach. Now you see that under total approach, Y is equals to AXB plus 1. And then also we need to do it on an average approach. To get the average approach is denoted by y bar is equals to ax raised to power b. So under the total approach, that's when you take b plus 1. For average approach, we use b, which will be negative. So we have assumed that to make the first unit, let's assume you are making sofa set. To make the first unit, it took you 40 hours. Now the question is, how long will it take to make 10 units? Now, in this case, there is running. Now, assuming there is no running, this is what it means. Assuming there is no running, if to make 1 unit, you spend 40 hours, when there is no running and you want for 10 units, you just need to multiply by 10. That means to make them, you need how many hours? 400 hours. But in this case, there is running. So that means the first unit you took 4 hours. So you expect the time to make the second sofa set or the second unit, the time will reduce. To make the third, the time will reduce. So in that case, how long will it take to make 10 units? So the formula is y is equals to a. A is the time to make the first unit, which is 14. You multiply by x, which is 10 units, b plus 1, which is 0.848. So give me that. You're getting an amount of 116. It can't be 160.89 hours. What about the average? Now, to get the average, now can you take your answer divided by 10? Take your answer, you divide by 10. You're getting 16 point. Or we use the formula. The formula will be a, which is 40, x 10 raised to power b. Our b is negative 0.152. Now give me that. How much will be that? You're getting? Sorry? 281. Therefore, this it can't be. The first one is how much? 281, 0.87 hours. So therefore, this one we're getting an amount of 28.187 hours. What about the time taken to make 15 units? To make 15 units, it will take a, y is equals to a, which is 40. X is 15 units, raised to power b plus 1, 0.848. Give me that. You get 390? 54. Now, if you are to get using the average approach, y bar, the average, on average, if you make 15 units, on average, how long were you spending to make 1 unit? So it will be a, which is 14, x is 15, but to get the average, we use b, which is negative 0.152. So give me that. You get 26.5. You see, the more units you produce, even the average time per unit reduces from 28 to 26. What about now? Now, in this case, I'm only interested with the last unit, 15th unit. I just select the 15th unit, then I ask you the question. How long did it take for you to make the 15th unit? So to make the 15th unit, that's only 1 unit. It will be taking y15. Now, 15 minus 1, you get 14. Y14. That means you factor in the time to make all the 15 units. Then you factor time to make all the first 14 units. The difference between to make all the 15 and 14 will give us now the time taken to make the 15. This is what I mean. So to make the 15, A does not change. So it will be 14 x 15 raised to power b plus 1, which is 0.848, of which you get 397.54. Then you minus, now we get the total time to make the first 14. So A does not change, it's 40. X, now our X is 14, raised power 0.848. Now give me that. You're getting? It can't be. That is the difference between the two. 22.59, eh? Ah. What if we want the time taken to make the 10th unit? The time taken to make the 10th unit, you'll take y. Y10 minus y. Y9. Good. What if I want the time taken to make between the 10th and 15th units? From 10 to 15th unit. Those are how many units? They are not 5. They are not 4. They are 6. From 10 to 15. Don't take 15 minus 10. So there's one you'll be missing out. So in that case, here we need the time to make the 6 units. So you'll be taking y, the maximum unit, which is 15, minus y, the minimum unit minus 1. The minimum minus 1. So it will be 10 minus 1, you get? 5. Good. What of between 15th to 20th units? So it'll be taking y, y20 minus y 40. Good. So you can copy that. Copy that. Now let's do an illustration from the past paper. May 2016, question 1B. May 2016, question 1B. One C, sorry. May 2016, question 1C. Let's start with 1B. 1B. Actually, we can even start with part A. Part A of the question is something we have already done. That management accountants are required to conduct themselves ethically. A commitment to ethical professional practice requires observation of principles that express values and standards that guide the conduct, such as honesty, fairness, objectivity, and responsibility required. With reference to the above statement, summarize 6 benefits of ethical behavior by the management accountant in a business. That was the first topic we did. The introduction to management accounting, the benefits of being ethical. I think we discussed about that. Number B of the question. The running phenomenon applies to time and will affect any cost, which is a function of time. Whenever costs are estimated, the potential impact of running should be considered. Required. Highlight 4 areas where the running curve is applied in business. We've just discussed about the application of running curve. Yeah, and actually the major one is in price setting or the cost analysis. Number two. Describe 4 limitations of using running curve in business. Learning curve. We have discussed about the limitation, and we see that most of the most of the assumptions are limitation. In this case, assumes there is no break, which is not always the case. It assumes workers are motivated, so that means it assumes there is no demotivators. But in practice, in workplace, you always find demotivators. It also assumes what? That the job is manual, which is not always the case. Which is not always the case. Yeah, so that's why you're saying that most of the assumptions are still the limitations. Number C. Spacecom Limited is about to bid on a new radar system. Although the product uses new technology, Spacecom Limited believes that a running rate of 75% is appropriate. So we have a running rate of 75%. The first unit is expected to consume 700 hours. The first one, that's A. See that A is the time taken to make the first unit. It will consume 700 hours. And the contract is for 40 units. X is 40. Required, number 1. The total amount of hours required to build the 40 units. Total time. So number 1, total is Y. Y is AXB plus 1. A we have is 700. X is the number of units is 40. B plus 1. So first of all, let's get B. B, we see that is log R over log 2. Log R, our running rate is 75, is 0.75 over log 2. You get negative 0 point into 3 decimal places. Sorry? 4, 1, 5, now let's add 1 so that you get B plus 1. Let me just do it here. B plus 1, it will be negative 0.415 plus 1. You're getting? 585, Good. So therefore, B plus 1, it will be raised power 0.58. So how many hours do we need? Right? 16. 16? 57, point. Let's work with 58 hours. Good. And number two. The average time to build each of the 40 units, average to build each. So to get the average, you can take 60, 58 divided by 40, or we use the formula y bar, which is the average. It's ax raised power b. So it will be a, it's 700, x, there are 40 units, b is negative 0.415. So give me the average. You get 150.4 hours. You see, the first unit took 700 hours, but to make all the 40 units, on average, we'll be taking 151. Then last thing, assuming that a worker works for 2080 hours per year, determine the number of workers that should be assigned to this contract to complete in a year. That's straightforward. Assuming that a worker works for 28 hours per year, determine the number of workers that should assign to this contract to complete in a year. One worker works for 2080 hours. So how many workers do we need to complete this work? This work requires how many hours? Yeah, we need 60, 58 hours. That means we need how many workers? Just take this divided by 28, you get? You get? 3 workers. So you can copy. December 2014. December 2014. Question 1C. December 2014. Question 1C. Let's start with question 1A. 1A. Explain 3 ways in which management accounting could assist in realization of organizational strategy. 6 marks. That's the first topic we discussed, introduction to management accounting. Go and consult the notes. Then number B, describe the limitation of management accounting. Did we discuss that? Yes. You see, the theorist is giving you how many marks? 12 marks. In a May kindly, don't ignore theories. Me, what I can advise, you better ignore computations. So, computation, we have many formulas we'll be using. You just need to understand 2 topics. 2 topics alone. Then you read theories and you are good to go. But if you focus on computation, it will disappoint you. Because MA is that unit that I told you, you can read question 1, question 2, question 3, and then even don't realize they are coming from which topic. To get which topic they are coming from. So, but theories will never disappoint. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. So make sure you go through it. Yeah, actually, what we discussed during our first session as the introduction, and then also we'll discuss about the EMA, Environmental Management Accounting. Yeah, also that one is very important. Part C. Mark Motors Limited has just launched a new car model branded Mazin. The car passes through 2 production processes, namely assembly and finishing, which are labor intensive. So you have 2 departments. The following information is available. 1. The labor in the assembly process is paid a standard rate of 12.50 per hour, while the labor in the finishing process is paid a standard rate of 950 shillings per hour. 2. Experience in manufacturing from other car models show that the use of labor in the assembly process is associated with 80% running effect, while the use of labor in the finishing process is associated with a 90% learning curve effect. So here we have 2 departments. We have assembly and we have the finishing. And you are given the running rate. For assembly, I told that the running rate, they are running at the rate of 80%. Finishing department at the rate of 90%. So what does that mean? Now let's get B. B is log R over log 2. So this will be log 0.8 over log 2. You get negative 0.322, right? Then we add 1. Let's just get B plus 1. Get 0.678. Now we do the same for the finishing. To get B, you take log R, which is 0.9 over log 2. Get a negative 0.152. We add 1 to get the B plus 1. 848. Good. Number 3. The labor usage for the first motor vehicle was as follows. The first motor vehicle, that's our A. A, assembly was 952 hours. Finishing, here we have is 650 hours. 4. The direct material cost per motor vehicle is estimated at 400,000 and other directly attributable overheads are 200,000 per motor vehicle. Number 5. In the month of October 2014, the company manufactured the 6th and the 7th car. Those are how many cars? Those are how many cars? Sorry? Those are 2 cars. The 6th and the 7th. Those are 2 cars. So that means we need to get the time to make the two vehicles, the 6th and the 7th. 6 and 7. So in that case, if you want to get the time to make the 6 and the 7, there are two vehicles. So you'll take y7 minus y. 6 minus 1, you get 5. Good. So that if you take 7 minus 5, you get two vehicles. So that in the month of October 2014, the company manufactured the 6th and the 7th car after receiving an order from a customer who paid 4 million for the two cars. 6. The running indices are as follows. So you're already given that. Required. The profit or loss on the above order. The profit or loss. So in this case, we need to use the concept of the running curve, because the running curve will affect the labor cost. The labor cost will also affect our total cost, and our total cost will affect our profitability. So how do you determine that? So we need to get the time. So y is AXB plus 1. Now let's start with the assembly department. First of all, determine the time taken to make the 7 cars minus time taken to make the 5 cars. The difference between the two will be the time to make the 6 and the 7. Let's start with Y7. A, it's 952. X, 7 cars. B plus 1. B plus 1 is 0.678. Then you minus Y5. A does not change. It's 952. X is 5. B plus 1 is 0.678. Do the same for finishing. Let's be here. Finishing, the formula is the same. So Y7 minus Y5, where Y is A. Now, in this case, for the finishing department, A was 650, so it will be 650. You multiply by X. X is 7, raised to power B plus 1. For B, the running rate was different, so it will be 0.848. You minus 650. The only thing that changes is X. Now it's 5, raised to power 0.848. Good. Give me the time for each department. Sorry? 726.40 hours. Good. 840.6 to 6 hours. So now we can come up with a profit statement. So profit statement, we start with the sales. So let's go to note number 5, note number 5. I told that the direct material, number 5. In the month of October 2014, the company manufactured the 6th and the 7th cars after receiving an order from a customer who paid 4 million for the two cars. So the customer already paid 4 million. Those were our sales. Then we raise costs. And for the cost, let's start with the labor cost. And for the labor cost, we have from the assembly department as well as finishing department. Assembly, it's 726.43 hours. Finishing, we had 840.26 hours. You multiply by note number 1. The labor in the assembly process is paid a standard rate of 12.50 per hour. Here they are paid 12.50 per hour, while the labor in the finishing process is paid a standard rate of 9.50. So this is 9.50. What do you get? This one is 908. Below that 7.5. 798. Sorry, 798. Can you give me that again? 798. 247. Good. And then we had another cost. Note number four. Note number four. The direct material cost per motor vehicle. So we have material cost. So the direct material cost per motor vehicle is estimated at 400. It's 400 per motor vehicle, and there you're making two motor vehicles. So the total will be 800,000. And other directly attributable overheads are 200 per motor vehicle. So you have other overheads. For the other overheads, it's an amount of 200,000 per motor vehicle, and there were two motor vehicles, so it's an amount of 400. Now give me the profit or loss. You get 10? 1093? 750.5, eh? 715.5. Good. You can copy. Let's try another one. Hmm. November 2016, November 2016, position 2B, November 2016, position 2B. Innovators Limited has designed a new model of a manufacturing machine. Mhm. The cost and the sales price of the first machine, of the first. So that's the information about the first machine to be produced has been estimated as follows. So you have material, labor, 2,000 hours at 15,000 per hour. So you already have our A. Remember the details given was the time to manufacture the first machine or the information about the first machine. So therefore, to get A is the time to make the first machine, of which you are given under the labor, 2,000 hours. 2,000 hours. Huh? Then we have overhead, profit markup, selling price. The company plans to sell the machine at a full cost plus 25%, a 90% running curve. So we have R is 90%. Therefore, you can be able to get B, which is log R over log 2. So it will be log 0.9 over log 2. So it will be negative 0.152. Then we add 1 to get B plus 1, so that we get B plus 1. 0.848. Good. So to that. A 90% learning curve is expected to apply to the production work. Only one customer has expressed interest in buying the machine so far. Only one customer. But he views 87.5 million as too high price to pay. He could buy more of the machines in the coming periods required. If the customer above paid 87.5 million for the first machine, determine the price he would have to pay later for a second machine. If now customer comes back, now you want to buy the second machine, how much will he pay? So in this case, give him a discount. But in this case, you're not counting in terms of discount. You are counting in terms of running. Because if there is a running of 90%, the time to make the first unit was 2,000 hours. So that means to make the second unit, when there is running, you expect to spend more time. I mean less time. If you spend less time, that means lower labor cost. Lower labor cost, also the total cost will be lower. So that means in that case, you can reduce the price. So therefore, let's get that. So in this case, the question is, determine the price you'll have to pay later for a second machine. So therefore, you need to get the time to make the second machine. And how do you get the time to make the second machine? Y2 minus Y1, where Y is AXB plus 1. So it will be A is 2,000 X second machine raised to B plus 1, 0.848. You minus time to make the first machine, which is 2,000. Or you can just take A, 2,000 X first machine raised power 0.848, of which all these raised power, this will be still be 1. So this is 2,000. So the first one is how much? That's 600 minus 2,000. So therefore it will be an amount of, you can confirm whether you'll get 1,600. Do you get 16? Good. So therefore, how much will we charge for the second machine? So now we can do the cost analysis. Cost analysis. So we have material. Material is 25. That one does not change. Then labor. Labor is changing now. Labor, we just need 1,600 hours each at 15,000. Each at 15,000. So how much will be the labor cost? Get 24,000. And then there is overheads. Overhead is 50% of the labor cost. So it's 50% of the labor cost. Labor cost is 24. We'll get an amount of 12. And that's how you get our total cost. Now give me the total cost. Get 61,000. And then they are charging a markup, profit markup. So markup of 25%. Markup is computed based on the cost. So therefore it's 25% of 61,000. Sorry? 15 to 50. Good. And that's how now we determine the selling price. So that means in this case, this customer comes back for the second machine, you can even sell to him at 76 to 50. And the company will still make the normal profit margin. So in this case, what they did, due to running, there was cost savings. Number two, advise the management of Innovators Limited on the price quotation per machine. If the customer above places an order for the third and the fourth machine as a single order, when the customer orders for the fourth, a minute. So now the question was, advise the management of Innovators on the price quotation per machine if the customer above places an order for the third and the fourth. Third and fourth. Those are how many machines? There are two. So in this case, under the running up, what you just need is the time taken to make the third and the fourth. So in that case, it will be Y4. Then you take the minimum minus 1. 3 minus 1, you get 2. Whereby Y is equals to AXB plus 1. So in that case, so now let's get that. So A does not change, was 2,000 X 4 raised power B plus 1. B plus 1 is 0.848. Then you minus for the two machines, 2,000 X. X now is 2, 0.848. Now give me the difference. Okay. 2880, 2880 hours. So now let's do the cost analysis. And so for the cost analysis, we have material. So we'll be having the material cost. Material cost was 25, but 25 was per machine. Now in this case, we are manufacturing how many machines? We are manufacturing 2 machines. So you multiply by 2. So therefore the cost will be an amount of 50. Then we also have labor. Now you need 2880 hours, and the cost per hour is 15,000. So you take 2880 each at 15, you get an amount of 43,200. And then we have overheads. Overhead is 50% of the labor cost. So you take 50% of 43,200, and you get an amount of 26,600. Now give me the total cost. How much will be the total cost? 115, 114,800. Then we factor in the company they're interested in making a profit markup of 25%. So we factor in the markup profit at the rate of 25% of the total cost, 114,800. Get an amount of how much? Sorry? 700. So if you take the cost, you add your profit, you determine the amount to charge them. That will be the selling price of the invoice price. It should be an amount of 140, 500. But the question was, let's read the question again. Advise the management of Innovators Limited on the price quotation per machine. If the customer above places an order for the third and the fourth machine as a single order, so it's a single order. So you must give your customer the same price for two machines and make it that five. So in that case, you don't have to explain to your customer about the running. So therefore, per machine, because it's a single order, you will take 143,500, you divide by the two machines. So each machine will be charging an average of 717. Good, you can copy. Now we can try the last question. August 2009, August 2009, question 1. August 2009, question 1. August 2009, question 1. Question 1, we are told that a double entry company, that's Deck Limited, recently bid for a kitchen fitting contract in a new real estate development for 600 identical apartments. So X, it's 600 identical apartments. Deck Limited estimate that the first kitchen will take 24 labor hours to fit. 24 hours. That's A. A is the time taken to make the first unit. You told that? Deck Limited estimate that the first kitchen will take 24 labor hours to fit, and thereafter, the time taken to fit a kitchen will be subjected to a 95% running rate up to 200 kitchens fitted. R is 95%, therefore B will be log R over log 2. So it will be log 0.95 over log 2. You get negative 0. Sorry? We add 1, you get 0.926, right? But you are told that, read that again. Deck Limited estimate that the first kitchen will take 24 labor hours to fit, and thereafter, the time taken to fit the kitchen will be subjected to a 95% running rate up to 200 kitchen fitted. So that means, you see in this case, the contract is for 600 units, but the running rate will only apply for 200. You cannot run forever. So that means there is where it's called stabilization of the running. That means the running will be up to 200 per kitchen. So that means any kitchen will made after that. That is 201, 202. It will be consuming the same time. What does it mean? The time taken to make the 200th kitchen will be the time to make each and every unit after 200. What does it mean? If, for example, to make the 200th, to make the 200 kitchen will take, let's assume, 10 hours. That means to make 201 will take 10 hours. To make 202, 10 hours. So each unit after 200, now it will stabilize. So they'll be having same time, equal time. Then I told that the running rate will then stabilize, and the time taken to feed the kitchen number 200 will be the time taken to feed all the remaining kitchens. Now, before we proceed, so can we be able to get time that will take to feed all the 600 kitchens? So first of all, you need to get the time taken to feed. So time taken to feed the 200 kitchen. That's what we need. So it will be Y200 minus Y199. So that to make the 200, you take Y200 minus Y199. So remember I said that Y, it's AXB plus 1. So it will be A does not change, it's 24. X is 200. Raised power B plus 1, it's 0.926. Then you minus 499. So it will be 24 times 199, 0.926. Now give me them separated. Give me separated. Give me for 200. Give me for 199 separated. This one you're getting? 43. Then for 199, get. Sorry? That 228. Now give me the difference between the two. 15 hours. 15 hours. So therefore, the total time to make 600 kitchen will be the first 200 kitchen. We require how many hours? Yeah, it is. This is the time to make the first 200, of which you got an amount of that 243. That 243. That's why I computed. I told you that you give them separately. This is the time to make all the 200. Time to make all the 199. So, but to make the 100, I mean 200, how many hours? So what about now the balance remaining? So it's 600 minus 200. So the balance will be how many kitchens? 400. Now each kitchen now will be consuming how many hours? 15 hours. Each is 15, 15, 15, 15. So it's 400 times 15. You get 6,000. So therefore, to fit all the kitchens, it will be 92.43 hours. Good. We proceed. Labor cost, 150 per hour. So now even we can be able to get the labor cost. It's 150 per hour. We already have the number of hours. And overheads are absorbed on a labor hour basis. Overhead will be absorbed on labor hour basis. Deck Limited collected the following overhead information for the last 4 months. Now, whenever you are given information about the past, you are given the past data of the cost, we use high row method to differentiate between the fixed and the variable element. So we are told that Deck Limited has collected the following overheads information for the last 4 months. Additional information. Deck Limited normally works for 120,000 hours, labor hours in a year. Deck Limited uses high row method to analyze overhead, even if you are told. But even if you are not told and you are given past information about the cost, you evaluate using the high row method. The learning curve equation is y is equals to a, blah, blah, all that required. So first of all, let's use the high row method. Using high row method to separate between a variable and a fixed element. Y is equals to a plus bx. You see that high row method involves the identification of the highest and the lowest value of x, not y. The highest and the lowest values of the independent variable. Then you select them with their respective y values. In that case, we have hours worked and overhead cost. Now, hours worked is our x, write it as x. Hours worked is our x, is our independent variable. Now, hours is what will explain the overhead cost. So therefore, overhead cost will be y. Write it as y. All right. Now let's go to x, hours worked. Select the highest. The highest we have is 96. Then you select it together with its respective y value. It's y, it's an amount of 1168 is equals to a plus bx. So it will be 96b. Then select the lowest, 92. Then you select it with its y value, which is 1136 is equals to a plus 92b. So this is 400b. A will disappear. Get that 2000, right? Now give me b. To get b, you take that 2000 divided by 400. 320 divided by 4, you get how much? You get 8. Now give me a. Now we have b, so we need a. You get 400,000. What do we mean by b? B represent what? Is it that b represent what? Yes? Hey, this is what we have written in our last session. What does b represent? Correct. This is the variable cost per unit. But in this case, we're told that overhead are absorbed on the basis of labor hours. We're evaluating the hours. Our X was hours. This is per hour. What about A? Yeah, this is the total fixed cost. Now, if that is the total fixed cost, but in this case, we need to, can you be able to get the total cost, the total fixed cost per hour? Fixed cost per hour, we can be able to get it. You take the total 400. Can you go to note number one? Note number one. Deck Limited normally works for 120,000 labor hours in a year. So you take the total fixed cost, you divide by the number of hours per year so that we get the fixed cost per hour. How much will be the fixed cost per hour? Sorry? 3.3. 3.33. So now the question was required, number one. The total cost that Deck Limited will incur to fit the kitchen. Total cost to fit the kitchen. So we do our cost analysis. And the only cost we have, it's very simple. What do we have? So actually, in this case, we don't actually need this because I mean for the fixed cost, we can work it with the total because the contract was for 1 year. So we start with the labor cost. Labor cost, these are the total number of hours we need, 9243 hours. Then how much is the cost per hour? Just read the second paragraph. The last sentence, labor cost 150 per hour. So you multiply by 150. How much is that? The labor cost per hour was 150 shillings. 1386, 415. Then we have variable overhead as well as we have the fixed overhead. The fixed overhead we already have, it's 400. Also, you have the variable overhead. Now, variable overhead, it's 80 shillings per hour. How many hours did you work? Correct. So you'll take 9243 hours. And the variable overhead per hour, the cost is how much? 80. So how much do you get? 739? 440. And that's how we get our total cost. 2,525,000. Right. And that's how we get to a 12 marks. That's why I'm insisting that the theory should be at your fingertips. Are we together? Computation can disappoint you. Let's go to part B. But before part B, there is part C. Explain the application of running curve in business. 6 marks. With theory will never let you down. The application of running curve. Do you have them? Yes. Now let's do part B. Demonstrate how the running rate of 95% is determined. How do they determine the running rate of 95? Given that the fourth kitchen is expected to take 21.66 labor hours to fit. Read that question again to understand. Just part B. Just part B. How do we determine the running rate of 95? Assuming that the fourth kitchen was to take how many hours? 21.66. So we are given the time to make the fourth. So that one, you use the average concept. It's very simple. The average time to make the fourth unit is 21.66. So how do we get Y bar? That's the average. You see that to get the average is AX raised power. Do we have Y bar? That's what we are given. We are told that demonstrate how the running rate of 95% is determined, given that the fourth kitchen is expected to take 21. This is the average time to make the fourth one. 21.66. A does not change. A is the time to make the first unit, which was an amount of 24. X 4. The fourth unit, simple. So this one should be equals. Then raised power. This is what we need to prove. How they got 95. So how can we get this? So it is 21.66 is equals to 24 times 4 raised power b. You divide both sides by 24, 24. So it will be 4 raised power b, 0.9025. How can we be able to get b? B the root. Now, this is why you introduce a logarithm. Are you together? You introduce a logarithm. This one will be b log 4 is equivalent to log 0.9025. So if, for example, this one was 4 raised power 6, so you, at least in this case, you could have just taken the same element, or you take the fourth root maybe on both sides. But in this case, whenever you have a value here, you introduce the logarithm. Our objective is to get b. So divide both sides by log 4, log 4. So give me your b. Give me your b. You're getting 0 point? Negative 0.07? Oh, but you have not proved. You have not proved. Higher. How do we get b? Okay, our b is negative 0.074, right? But we needed the 95%. How do you got 95%? This one is not approved. So you already have b. How do we get b? It's log r over log 2. Do you have b? How much is b? B is negative 0.074 is equals to log r over log 2. Now give me log 2. Just take log 2. 0.3? 301. Good. Now, can you be able to get log r? You just cross multiply. So to get log r, you take your answer, 0.301, you multiply by negative 0.074. What are you getting? Yes? Negative 0.022. But still, we have not gotten what we need. What we need is r, the rate of 95%. How can we get this r? To eliminate this log, you compute the anti-log. So to get r, to eliminate log, you get the anti-log of negative 0.022. To get anti-log is shift log of your answer. What do you get? 0.95, which is 95%. Yes, and you get 2 marks. But you see, theories, you are getting 6 marks. Theories will never disappoint. So that marks the end of that topic of cost forecasting.